Gamescom earlier this week offered fans multiple pieces of new information regarding the highly anticipated film Rebel Moon from Zack Snyder. For those who may not have heard of this film before recently, it was a script that Snyder initially pitched to Disney and Lucasfilm as a Star Wars story, but due to a variety of reasons, it was never picked up. So as a result, Snyder made a deal with Netflix to create a slightly adapted version of the script as a film in its own universe. The big thing to come out of Gamescom was the first teaser trailer for Rebel Moon, but before I get into that, what may have been the most surprising piece of news to me is that Rebel Moon will now be releasing on Netflix in two parts. Part 1 is titled A Child of Fire, and Part 2 is titled The Scargiver. The film was originally slated for a December 22nd release date later this year. Although there won't be a new Star Wars film in theaters this holiday season, at least we'll get something along the same vein. But it looks like the footage Snyder captured turned out to be too long for one movie, as a Part 2 has now been added, slated to release April 19th next year. Although it may be a little more complicated to have it released in two parts, I think it's a good way to avoid having a 3-hour movie, and not feeling the need to cut out any scenes that Snyder would see as essential to understanding the story he's created. Releasing it in two parts also makes this seem like a franchise of its own already. Although it was initially intended on being a part of the Star Wars universe, telling this story in two films gets it to that franchise stepping stone, with just the one story. So if there's ever a need or desire to expand the universe, I don't think it would be as hard to get Netflix to greenlight something if both parts perform well. Going into the teaser that was released, for anyone familiar with Zack Snyder and his work, this is right in line with what we've seen from him before. The teaser offers a little bit of story information, although I'll be honest, it took a few viewings for me to comprehend it even slightly. But the main focus of the footage shown is the cinematography and the action, two aspects of filmmaking that Snyder has always excelled in no matter the film. The film will take place on a planet called Velt, which was once ruled by a benevolent king and queen, and protected by an army of robot knights. Rebel's Moon picks up centuries later, with that same planet under attack by the galactic empire of Motherworld. One of those robot knights, voiced by Anthony Hopkins, narrates the teaser trailer. Cora, played by Sofia Boutella, was once a member of the conquering empire, and we see her in a flashback wearing a fascist-looking uniform and losing a man she loves on the battlefield. In the present, she has a very different haircut and seems to be fighting against the empire she once served. In order to do so, she must recruit an all-star team of heroes and warriors from across the stars. In addition to Boutella and Hopkins, the Rebel Moon cast includes Charlie Hunnam, Djimon Hounsou, Ray Fisher, Michael Huisman, Ed Skrein, Duna Bay, Cleopatra Coleman, Jenna Malone, and Farah Fee. The voiceover from Hopkins initially speaks of a story saying that Princess Issa would stop the madness of war. Until looking up more information, I assumed that Boutella's character was a grown-up version of the princess, destined to end whatever war is going on, but that doesn't look to be the case. But there's such a focus placed on this story since it's the first bit of lore we get with this franchise, so I find it hard to believe that it doesn't come into play at all in these films. It's also worth noting that this teaser reportedly contains footage from both Part 1 and 2. I don't think I'm going to fully understand the plot of these movies until I see them, or at least until we get more footage as the release date gets closer, but I'm completely fine with that. I've seen enough of the story where I'm interested in it. I trust Zack Snyder as a filmmaker and storyteller to deliver a solid movie-going experience, and this world reminds me of everything I love about Star Wars without feeling like a cheap knockoff. Like I mentioned earlier, the main focus of this teaser is the action and cinematography, and it also does a good job of fleshing out this new sci-fi world. We get to see what looks like different planets and different cultures, warships, both royalty and low-level peasants, flaming swords that are definitely not lightsabers, and some alien-looking creatures like an arachnid and a winged beast that evokes the hippogriffs of Harry Potter. It looks like it'll be Zack Snyder's take on fighting against oppression and opening oneself back up to the compassion of others, and I'm all here for it. And one more bit of news that'll probably interest some of you more than others. Zack Snyder announced at Gamescom that Super Evil Megacorp will be developing a Rebel Moon game set after the events of the first two movies. No other details were given, but I think it's safe to say that it would release sometime after the two movies release on Netflix. And if there are already plans to incorporate a video game into this franchise, who knows what else is being planned. Depending on the success of the two films, I wouldn't be surprised if there are more films, or possibly even a streaming series being discussed. How excited are you for Rebel Moon? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for coverage of the films as we get closer to their release dates. And remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.